All right, brother, it is personal story time. Right now, I want to share with you a story of how I got really triggered by another guy a couple weeks ago at a dance event, and specifically by how this guy was interacting with other women and how I was able to transform my trigger and what ultimately was my jealousy into a scenario where I could actually learn from him and gain something that I could then use to have the experiences that I want. So, here's the story. This happened 2 weeks ago at an ecstatic dance in Thailand, and I have just spent the past almost 2 months there. I just got back to America, but when I was there, I went to an ecstatic dance. And an ecstatic dance, if you don't know, it's this space where there are 100 people plus sometimes that are all exploring movement and dance in whatever way feels good to them, and there's a DJ, and there's no alcohol. It's a substance-free zone, but it's a place for people to explore free-form dance, and it looks different in a lot of different spaces around the world. In Thailand, in this particular island I was on, Koh Phangan, it's like some really high energy, just going on and on and on and on for hours, sort of a thing. So in this space, there was a particular guy who was dancing with women in a way that was really sexual. It appeared to be sexual. And ecstatic dance is not the place to go to hook up. Like, you don't go there to hook up with people. You go there to move in whatever way feels authentic, right? And there's a blurry line sometimes between what is authentic and what is socially acceptable. So this guy was dancing with women in a way that triggered me. And at first I noticed in my mind, like, oh, you are triggering me. And I started to make him other. Like, I started to create stories about how this guy was bad and how he was wrong for doing this and how it was inappropriate for the space and all this stuff. And that I noticed that response in me, and I was able to catch myself. And the reality of the situation was that the women that he was dancing with seemed to really be enjoying their experience, and they were going with it too, and they were moving in these super sexy ways with this guy. And really what was happening is there was some part of me that was jealous. I actually wanted to be dancing with women in that way, and I had some hang-ups about approaching women, and I had some ideas around what is socially acceptable or not, and really there was fear that was preventing me from approaching people and dancing in the way that I really wanted to dance. So when I saw this guy just like shamelessly approach women and start moving with them in this way that he seemed to love and they seemed to love, I could either choose to be triggered by him and make him bad, or I could choose to learn from him. And so what I did was I observed him, and I observed how he moved in the space, and I observed what he did to initiate interactions with people. And really what I noticed was this guy, he didn't seem to actively be thinking about what he was doing. He was very embodied in his masculinity and his movement. And a lot of the time he wasn't even dancing with other women. He was just on his own, just like, like being his wild self. And that really inspired me. And I noticed in those moments I was very much up in my head, and I was not being my embodied self. I was caught up in this story of what this guy should be doing, or why can't I be like this guy? And instead of just enjoying whatever movement authentically came into my body in that space. So that was the first thing that I did, that I learned from him in that moment. And this is something that I knew, but when you get triggered, it gives you a whole new opportunity to reevaluate things. So I started moving, and in ways that just felt really good to me. I tried to drop out of story and notice just how my body wanted to move. And as soon as I did that, as soon as I started dancing and my not giving a fuck about what other people thought, all of a sudden I felt more confident. All of a sudden I felt more excited about being alive. All of a sudden more people seemed excited about dancing with me. And it was just simply because I made the switch from thinking about dancing with people to just embodying my own personal joy and my own personal excitement. And that's all it took, really. And it was so fascinating to me to notice that I had the option to keep going down this direction of trigger and make him bad, Or I could say, hey, this guy is doing something, I'm having a reaction to it. Turns out I'm actually a little jealous, so what can I learn from him, and how can I apply that to my life, and how can I, get results from that? And I chose that second option, and I applied what I observed in him, the good parts of that, and I got results, and it was fucking awesome. And it reinforced to me this idea and this knowledge that we're always at choice with how we choose to respond to things. And more often than not, when we're triggered by something, it's because it activates something inside of ourselves that we need to look at. And for me, this was my own insecurity. It was my own lack of embodiment in that moment. And it was really a reminder for me to come back into love with myself, into my own body. And then from that place, I was able to navigate and move into dancing with other people, sometimes women, sometimes men, in a way that felt really fucking awesome and natural. And I didn't have to think about it. I didn't see a person and think, ooh, I want to dance with them. I would just dance. And then there was a person and I felt a draw to them and I went to them. And if they wanted to dance with me, great. And if they didn't, great, because that was their authentic no. So really it just came back to embodiment. And I don't know, this just felt like an important story to share. If nothing else, for a reminder for myself that embodiment is so fucking important. And it's so easy to spin out and get lost in story and make other men bad, And afterwards, I went up and I thanked this guy. And I didn't tell him the whole story. I was just like, brother, thank you for the way that you move in space. It inspires me. So that is my story for now. If you like videos like this, if you like personal stories, please let me know in a comment below, because they're fun to share, and they're different from like 10 ways to get over premature ejaculation. It's it feels cool to share my life experience if it's valuable to you. So let me know if it is. Subscribe if you like this video, if you want more of them, and that's it. See you next time, brothers. Cheers.